Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Apollo N in multiplayer in Asphalt 9. Now, I got this car maxed from Gameloft for a project. Hopefully it will be up on the Asphalt channel sometime soon. So my rank is 4047 with top speed, acceleration, and all of the things maxed out, with all of the import parts applied. And it turns out that this car is actually very good, definitely the king of Class B, at least on most tracks, and I've been able to beat pretty much every A-Class car in multiplayer with it, because I do think it's faster than every A-Class car in the game, except maybe the Aculone and the 570S. Not entirely sure about those, but this car can go 241 miles per hour, which is faster than at least the VLF I know, which is, what, 239 or something like that? It's probably fairly close to the Gentian Aculone in terms of speed. It's a pretty fun car to drive, not too heavy or too light feeling. Its acceleration is pretty good, not the best, but still not bad. Its handling and drifting are also pretty good. Its nitro efficiency is probably the worst thing about it, although it's not too bad either. All around, it's just a well-rounded car that can take on pretty much every B and A-Class car in multiplayer, and probably some of the low S-Class cars as well, such as the Centenario, FXXK, and probably even the Egoista. Perhaps even the Icona. If this car and the Icona are in the same multiplayer season together, I would definitely take this car out against them and see what would happen. Actually, in the current multiplayer season, that could happen, because it is a versus season, and it's an open season as well, which means you can use pretty much every car. Now, these races in this video were recorded in the season previously, the Northern King series, but I am interested to see what will happen with this car and other ones in the Duel series, and I probably will make a video or two with some cars in that season. So here we faced another Legions United member and beat a Huayra, a Regera, as well as two Porsche 918 Spiders, and a Vencer Sarth, which came in last. However, the Vencer Sarth is definitely not a bad car. It is certainly the king of Class C due to its much greater top speed than any other car in Class C, and its other stats aren't too bad either at max. I have mine at 4-star, and I probably will make a video about it at some point as well. It's not exactly the most fun thing to drive, but it can get the job done. So in the current race, we are facing two Porsche 918 Spiders, three Pagani Huayra BCs, and one Koenigsegg Regera. Now, a lot of people commented on my updated best and worst cars in each class video, wondering why I put the Porsche 918 Spider ahead of the Huayra in the A-Class list. And I will say, I knew that A-Class was going to be the most debated list on that video, just because all the cars up top were at least fairly close in terms of performance, which you might not see in some of the other classes. Now, I placed the Porsche ahead of the Pagani because of my experiences with the cars. Now, my Porsche is 3-star and my Huayra is 1-star, so there obviously is a bit of a difference in rank and stuff there, but I just have found the 918 to be a more fun car to drive overall. Now, a lot of people apparently have disagreed with me about that, and maybe at higher ranks the Huayra is easier to drive, but I feel that my list has been vindicated a bit by the current A-Class Elite Cup. There are a bunch of Huayras and Porsche 918 Spiders up top, but Chikua is up top with his 918, then two Huayras, then two 918s, and so since those two cars are so close in terms of performance, I had to put one ahead of the other, and I'd simply prefer the 918. And in most multiplayer races that I've seen, the 918s do seem to be doing better than the Huayras. We also beat a Regera in that race. Now, of course, there will still be people who disagree about that 918 Huayra thing, but those are some of the reasons why I put them on the list where I did. And yes, the VLF has been tested to be faster than the 918 on pretty much all tracks. So back to the race at hand, we've got what turns out to be a very close battle between me and this Huayra right here. We've also got two other Huayras besides him, and three 918s, as well as one GTR Nismo. So here's something a little funny pertaining to the Apollo N. Lots of people have posted screenshots on the Asphalt 9 community about the Acura actually having Apollo N blue particles and stuff around it. Like, when they go into replay mode and see after the race when you are in the blue nitro, or go through a blue nitro bottle or something like that, I'm not entirely sure what's happening, but the Acura doesn't have the normal Acura particles around it. It's a little weird and funny at the same time. So let me take a little bit now to explain a little bit about what's happening in Asphalt 8. So we got that petition. It has nearly 2,000 signatures. Gameloft made a post earlier today saying that Asphalt 8 matchmaking would go back to what it was previously with the horrible speed-based matchmaking system that we did a petition and it got reverted, but it seems like they did not learn and it's coming back. RIP Asphalt 8. Here in the second lap of this race, I accidentally hit this bus when I was trying to get a near miss on it. Yeah, such things are not exactly good to do in multiplayer. Get a tiny little bit of nitro, but risk slowing down a whole lot and having the person who is way behind you pass you. Yeah, don't do risky things in multiplayer, guys. But I knew that not all hope was lost. You see, my car is a bit faster than the Huayra, at least by a few miles per hour, so I knew that if I was able to at least stay in nitro some of the time, maybe I could pass him in the final turn. Because I passed a Chiron before here, and it seems like I was able to do it. I actually used him to be able to pass him to finish ahead of him. It's always fun when you manage to beat a room full of cars in the class above you. Coming up next is a pretty close race between me and a couple members of the pro team. One of them's in a 918 and the other one is in a Huayra, and we've also got another 918 and another Huayra in this race. This is what I mostly faced when I got into Platinum League, because when you're in Gold League, you would face mostly cars in Gold, Silver, and Bronze League. But once you get to Platinum League, it seems like you only face Platinum and Legend League cars. There's a big shift when you go from Gold to Platinum. Now, even though my car does have a slight speed advantage over the 918 and Huayra, they both have better nitro efficiency than me. Now, I figured that wouldn't be quite as much of a problem on this track than some others because this is a very top speed oriented track. However, you can see they aren't too far behind me. At least Snarko in his 918 is not. He's the one that's right behind me. So I have managed to 4-star my Regera, same as I did with the Chiron, and I plan to make some sort of a comparison video between the two. Now, on the Asphalt channel, I participated in a battle between the Chiron and the Regera. I was in the Chiron, Supersonic SG was in the Regera, but we were at stock, and we were only doing it on one track. So I want to see what will happen if both cars are at the same stars, 4 stars in my case, and on a bunch of different tracks, just what will happen. And it will also be a little bit more accurate, I think, if both cars are driven by the same person. And yes, I also do plan to make a Regera multiplayer video. If you're wondering why I haven't yet, it's because I don't have enough money to fully upgrade my 4-star Regera. It takes 7 million to go from 3 to 4-star upgrades. So here the 918 came in second and the Huayra came in third. Now for a race on San Francisco, which sort of shows the Apollo N's comeback power. Now, I wouldn't necessarily think of this as a comeback car per se, because its top speed isn't, well, greatly higher than any of the other cars that I'm facing. However, it can still do pretty good. So I was forced down here by that 918, and then I already knew this was going to be bad, and I wrecked into that little bit there. Now, I was in 6 out of 6 position, pretty far behind. However, once you get into Platinum League, I believe all of the races are 2 laps. So I knew that I still had a bit of a chance, and just maybe I could pull something out. I wasn't about to leave in a race like this, and we've already come into 5 out of 6 position. Check that, 4 out of 6 position. So already we've gained 2 spots. Now, one thing to remember if you wreck or whatever and you're in last and you're trying to make it back up to a higher position is that you still need to stay calm and not get super upset during the race, because if that happens, usually you won't drive as well and you'll end up getting a worse position. Trust me, I know that from experience. So if I get knocked down early on in a race or a wreck or something like that, I just try to keep my cool, just keep racing, and usually, if not always, it ends up better than if I would get upset or whatever, and if I would leave the race, because the thing is, you don't lose more points if you leave the race near the end as if you do during the beginning, so you may as well just stay in and see what you can do. Obviously, if you can't catch up at all, and you are still on last or whatever by the end of the race, then yes, you might want to leave, but not super early. So we're now pretty far into the second lap, and we're catching up on this guy here in his Huayra, and we have now passed him. So we're now into 3 out of 6 position with just 2 cars to go. Now, I was pretty sure I was not going to be able to get first. That first guy there was very far ahead, and unless he wrecked or fell off the track or something, there would be no way that I would be able to catch him. But this 918 here, I knew that I still had a chance if I could, I don't know, shockwave past him on a turn, or maybe back there, which didn't end up happening. So I knew my final chance would probably be on this turn up here, or on the final ramp. So I decided to try to do that. Now, I tried to go as close to the inside as I could here, and I actually managed to get just up next to him. Did not quite manage to pass him because he still had shockwave, again that better nitro efficiency coming into play, but there I go straight up instead of flat spinning, allowing me to have a bit of faster speed and thus get past him and come in second position. Very good race. So we lost to one 918 but beat 2 others as well as 2 Huayras. Now this final race here is on Himalayas on one of the fairly new Himalayan tracks, and we're facing, you guessed it, some Paganis and Porsches. Those were definitely the most popular cars this past multiplayer season, and since the Centenario was the only car in Legend League and hardly anybody managed to get to Legend League, and those 2 cars are better than the Centenario anyway, those are pretty much the two cars that you'd see most often. So we just knocked one of the Porsche 918s down accidentally. I don't knock down anybody on purpose unless they have knocked down me before. And so we're into second position with a 5-star Porsche 918 ahead of us. He was probably maxed or very close to us, so we'll have to see how this goes. The B-Class King maxed against one of the A-Class Kings maxed. I use a trick I learned in the cave here to keep a bit better speed through it, and thus I'm able to pass the Porsche 918 here. So now it's time for me to give my general review of this car. It's quite a fun car to drive, definitely worth going for in packs because it is useful in the Regera event, and I believe it is the king of Class B on most tracks. It is very well rounded, having extremely good top speed for its class, although not the greatest nitro efficiency, but overall it's very good. It's interesting to me how so many cars that were from Asphalt 8 added to Asphalt 9 in Asphalt 9 were not nearly as good as they were in Asphalt 8. Say, for example, the Vulcan or the Homage, which were very good in Asphalt 8, but not as good in Asphalt 9. And then you have cars like the Vencer and the Apollo, which were no good in Asphalt 8, but are very good in Asphalt 9. It's just interesting to me how they do this. I guess they're giving different cars their times to shine. So we're coming up pretty close to the end of this race here, and although this 918 has managed to stay fairly close behind us, we've gotten slightly further ahead of him throughout the second lap. So I'm interested to see how this car really does against some of the high-end A-Class cars, because it seems to be very good at beating them in multiplayer. And we come in first. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 and 9 content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!